UMass Boston. This is the Beacons Broadcast Network. Tonight we have the final game of the fall semester for the UMass Boston Beacons and the Suffolk Rams. Hi everybody, Bill Spalding, glad to be with you here courtside at the Clark Athletic Center. Steve Witkowski will be with us a bit later on as well as we get set for this one. The Beacons off to a hot start, 6-3 on the season. Away today, they'll already surpass their win total from last season under second-year head coach Jason Harris. Suffolk at 2-7 on the season. Both teams do not play again until January, so looking ahead into the break on a positive note. Coming up in the pregame show, we'll check our player to watch. We'll give you the head-to-head statistic matchup, and we'll break this down for you as we get set for tip-off top of the hour between UMass Boston and Suffolk. That's all coming up next on the Beacons Broadcast Network.
UMass Boston is my first choice because of the incredible theater department.
Because it has an excellent honors college.
Because here I get to interact with professors one-on-one.
Because I'm not going to be crazy in debt when I graduate.
Because at UMass Boston, I've met professors who have changed my life.
My first choice.
My first choice.
My first choice.
My first choice.
Make the University of Massachusetts Boston your first choice. Visit umb.edu/first choice.
Suffolk here at the Clark Athletic Center. Beacons 6-3 on the season, coming in off a close loss against Keene State. Suffolk is 2-7. They're coming in off a conference loss to Albertus Magdalene. Take a look at our player to watch for the Beacons today, and today that is Iser Barnes, Jr. from right here in Boston. Iser, one of the top players on the team in terms of points per game, averaging about 13.2 points a game this season. On top of that, even though he's only 5'9", he's one of the Beacons' better rebounders, averaging about 5 rebounds a game in a matchup against a Suffolk team that likes to slow it down and a Beacon team that really likes to push the pace. He'll be key, getting those rebounds off missed shots and pushing them forward into the offensive end. Get a look at Sam Freeman as well, leading the Beacons with about 18 points a game this season. Freeman, the Beacons' rock-solid center, also leads the team with 7 rebounds per game. He scored 15 points last time out. You look at the head-to-head matchup between the Beacons and the Rams. It's been really all UMass Boston over the past decade. UMass Boston has won 8 in a row. They have won 9 of the last 10. So dating back to 2006, Beacons have really handled their business, including the last time they played here at the Clark Athletic Center a couple of seasons ago. In that game, former Beacon Carl Joseph led a dunk party as UMass Boston beat Suffolk. Let's take a look at those highlights.
Swings it out.
That was the last time these two teams played here at the Clark Athletic Center 2 years ago, a Beacon win. Beacon's looking to do the same today to move to 7-3 on the season and pass last year's win total. Steve Witkowski now with us up in the booth. Steve, should be a fun one today. Big clash of styles between the Beacons and the Rams.
Definitely clash of styles, and the last home game here for the Beacons against Daniel Webster and the one before that, Wentworth. Both very exciting games, both very close games, and it is great to be here back at the Clark Athletic Center after a 3-1 road trip for the Beacons.
A tough road trip ending with that close loss to Keene State, but overall a successful trip for the Beacons. Let's take a look at the season statistics for these two teams. UMass Boston has been scoring at a really good clip, averaging about 80 points a game, and a big reason why is because they like to push the pace and get into transition, whereas Suffolk plays a much slower half-court based offense.
Yeah, one of the things that they really preach is defense to offense, and you can see that with the point per game almost, well, it's at 80 to be exact, and they do play an exciting amount of basketball here at the Clark Athletic Center.
And shooting the ball well, 45% from the field, and maybe even more impressively, 38% from three. That's a very good clip through the first 9 games of the season.
Very true, and the last home game against the second last home game against Wentworth, they 3 after 3 after 3, and it was very exciting.
Dan Powers, a big reason why he's shooting 42% from 3. Look at the team leaders for UMass Boston, and the Beacons are led by Sam Freeman offensively. Freeman, really the lone true post player on this Beacon roster. A lot of guards throughout the lineup, led by Ty Lee, 4.8 assists a game. Dan Powers, who will play on the outside offensively, can also bang inside. He's leading the team with about 9 rebounds this season. For Suffolk, few players to watch include their 6'6 center, Steven DiPrizio, who will be an issue for the Beacons. He is the tallest player on the floor for either team at 6'6", and he'll be on the inside with generally 4 guards around him on the outside of that Suffolk offense.
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about Sam Freeman, last year he averaged 8 points last year, and the first 2 years that he was here, freshman and sophomore year, he barely played, so it's nice to see that he really grew with this Beacons program. And I mean, he's now averaging 18.1 points per game, which just shows how hard he's really worked in the last couple of years.
18 points, 7 rebounds a game for Freeman. Mentioned Dan Powers, 9 rebounds a game. He's also averaging 11 points a game. Your head coaches will start on the Suffolk side with Jeff Duran. He's in his 2nd season. Coach Duran, previously an assistant coach at the University of Rochester, which has one of the top programs in Division III basketball. This year, though, Steve, he has a very young team, 9 freshmen for Suffolk, so they're still developing.
Yeah, it should be interesting to see how those 9 freshmen really handle the press and the defense that UMass Boston really throws onto teams and really tries to force turnovers with that type of defense.
And for the Beacons, Jason Harris is the head coach. He's in his 2nd season, formerly an assistant at Long Island University, but knew the Little East very well. He played his college basketball at Rhode Island College, and he has already taken the team from year 1 to year 2 to a chance to clip last year's win total, only 10 games into this season. 6-19 last year, has the Beacons at 6-3 already this season.
Well, I mean, when I talk to a lot of the players, they're really buying into what he's saying with defense to offense. If you really talk to one of the players individually, they sound exactly like him, just preaching what he preaches. And it's nice to see that the Beacons program is really evolving and this good so far this season.
UMass Boston and Suffolk getting set for action. We'll step aside on the Beacon pregame show. When we come back, we'll have the starting lineups for you. That's next on the Beacons Broadcast Network.
Paris changed my life, and I got there through UMass. Those very specific seminal moments in Paris, the subway. A man in a tuxedo walked in, and a woman in a long gown. And it was stunning. It all hit me. It was like a lightning bolt. There was this world of beauty and style that I wanted to be a part of. That was the beginning of the journey. And that all came through the University of Massachusetts. And that was really a key moment for me. That's one of those moments you never forget.
We're back at the Clark Athletic Center. UMass Boston and Suffolk set to go in about 5 minutes' time Let's take a look at the starting lineups. We will start with the visiting Rams, who made the trip from the center of Boston just to the south. Suffolk's starting lineup, we mentioned DePrizio, the top scorer. Jim Gemma, 5'10 sophomore guard, often handles the ball. He's averaging about 11 points a game. He's a sophomore, along with sophomore Michael Hagopian in the backcourt, averaging about 11 points a game. 3 different Rams average at least 10 points a game. And now the starting lineup for UMass Boston, and for the Beacons, not a whole lot of surprises when you look at that UMass Boston starting lineup, so we'll take a look at it right here.
And I mean, when you're looking at Suffolk's starting lineup, they have a very deep bench with Duffy. He's been the Rookie of the Week of the GNAC 2 weeks in a row, and he's a great rebounder.
Yeah, Duffy come off the bench. Thomas Duffy averages about 6 points a game, but the last few weeks he's averaged about 8 points a game. See the starting lineup for UMass Boston as the Beacons at 6-3 look to head into their winter break at 7-3. Starters for the Beacons include Iser Barnes, Alex Sanchez, Careem Kirksey, Sam Freeman, and Dan Powers. Now, Steve, I know you've been really high on Iser Barnes and the way he's played lately. We talked about him earlier in the show. Such a key part of this Beacons offense because he can help really push the pace from a small forward position.
Yeah, I mean, not only can he push the pace, but he's great on defense. And I mean, Coach Harris loves defense to offense. But when you look at his numbers, last year didn't average too many minutes. He scored 6 points per game. But this year he's at 13.2 points per game, and he's playing great, and so is this Beacons team.
All right, let's talk keys to the game, Steve. If you have to boil this down, a couple of your keys to the game today.
I mean, obviously it's getting Sam Freeman the ball and really trying to stop the big man on Suffolk. I mean, they really run their whole offense around him. And it should be interesting. I talked to Coach Harris before the game, and he is excited about coming home with the crowd and the intensity of the crowd. But he's also excited to see what they do against this very slow Suffolk Rams team and see if they could speed up the game.
Let's see if here's a few more keys to the game. You've hit on it already, but push the pace, create havoc on defense. Those two often go hand in hand. And with DePrizio inside for Suffolk at 6'6", pressure on the taller Beacons like a Sam Freeman to avoid foul trouble because UMass Boston is pretty thin on the interior.
Yeah, very thin. I mean, talking to Coach Harris this last week, he was on Beacons 360, which we have a show here, and he talked about how a couple of their big men did get in foul trouble at Tufts against the number 5 team in the nation, and a lot of freshmen did step up coming off the bench. So we'll see if they do get in trouble today, who really steps up off the bench.
You mentioned that win against Tufts. That's the highlight of the season for the Beacons so far, that 2-point win on the road against the number 5 team in the country. Beacons 6-3. They're coming off that loss against Keene State, but before that, 3 consecutive wins over Western Connecticut State in the Little East opener, Tufts and Eastern Nazarene. Suffolk enters off that loss last time out to Albertus Magnus, but before that, they had picked up one of their 2 wins on the season, beating Norwich at home 61-52. It was a rough start to the season. 5 consecutive losses to start the year for Suffolk, but since then 2-2. You mentioned how young they are. You expect as the season gets on, they'll get better and better.
Yeah, I mean, being a freshman and starting off not so hot is kind of expected, but when you are talented freshmen like I've heard Suffolk Rams are, once you get on a roll, you tend to keep on a roll. So it should be interesting to see if they get on a roll today and go into the break with a W.
All right, that's all coming up. Beacons and Rams both off for about 3 weeks after this one, so they can lay it all out for the next 40 minutes. UMass Boston and Suffolk tip-off coming up next on the Beacons Broadcast Network.
What do we mean when we say UMass is here for a reason? We mean that the 5-campus UMass system is the only public research university that the people of Massachusetts established to create better futures for themselves, but also for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts as a whole. It's a university that educates 73,000 students every day and graduates 17,000 graduates every year. We are the university that educates the workforce of Massachusetts. We're one of the state's 3 major academic research engines: research that saves and improves people's lives, and research that drives the innovation economy of Massachusetts. We provide services and economic opportunity to every region of the Commonwealth. The noted historian David McCullough once said that 2 great concepts, university and Massachusetts, come together in only one place, and we are very aware of how fortunate we are to bear the name, the University of Massachusetts. We recognize that we are truly here for a reason, and that recognition inspires us and drives us every single day.
At the Clark Athletic Center on the campus of UMass Boston, we're about set for tip-off between the 6-3 home UMass Boston Beacons and the 2-7 road Suffolk University Rams. With Steve Witkowski, Bill Spalding, glad to be with you here on the Beacons Broadcast Network. We have a great crew working hard in the final week before winter break, so glad to have you with all of us. We'll see the Beacons look to bounce back from a tough loss at the end of a 4 games and 8-day stretch, falling to 10 to Keene State on the road. Never an easy place to play in the first place. You throw in the fact that they'd played 4 games over an 8-day stretch, and there was a lot going against UMass Boston heading into that one on Saturday.
Yeah, Coach Harris mentioned that they did run into a little fatigue. He felt that at that last game, but obviously a 3-1 road trip against some very competitive teams with Keene State and Tufts.
Suffolk 2-7 on the season, coming off a loss to Albertus Magnus. But if there can be such thing as a positive loss, that was because Albertus Magnus has often been one of the best teams in the conference, the GNAC, that Suffolk plays in, and the Rams lost by just 7. So showing that they can compete with an upper echelon team in the GNAC.
Well, I mean, they are 2-7, but their average loss is only by 7 points. Yep. So they like to play very slow, and Coach Harris said that's a lot of clash of tactics, per se, because the Beacons like to run the floor and be fast and really translate the offensive defense.
You're right. If you can play a slow, deliberate, grind-it game, it can lead to closer games down the stretch. That's the antithesis of the way the Beacons like to play. UMass Boston wants to push it and run as much as possible. What the Beacons lack in size, they make up for in speed. Your referees today, Hakeem Dixon, John Rafferty, and Gary Puccino. Beacons in white at home, Suffolk in the navy blue, and this is where you'll see that noticeable size differential. Big Steven DePrizio has a couple of inches on the tallest Beacon. He'll take the tip against the tallest Beacon, Sam Freeman, to get things going here.
And even though the Beacons are small, they've been rebounding very good.
Yep.
So we'll see how that really correlates to today's game.
Yeah, Beacons rebounding with a +3 differential. We're underway in the final game of the fall semester. Beacons control the opening tip. Here's the slightly built freshman Alex Sanchez, just 5'5", 140, but he's a blur out there, one of the fastest players on the hardwood. Quickly into Freeman, and he sticks it in over the top of Jim Gemma. Gemma, the point guard, had switched on his screen, and the Beacons identified the mismatch.
Yeah, and you said it, Alex Sanchez, a very small guard, but very good for that matter. He's a freshman out of Salem, Massachusetts. He's been playing great.
So a good start for the Beacons, a 2-0 lead. First possession for Suffolk, into DePrizio. Couldn't finish around Freeman. Strong start for Sam Freeman over the first 40-plus seconds.
And when you look at Freeman down low, he's really trying to solidify his position down there. And so far, I mean, with the first basket of the game, he has.
Powers on the drive, laid it off for Careem Kirksey, getting the start today. Freeman from distance doesn't go. Good rebound for Quinn McCartney, a 6'5" senior from La Crosse, Wisconsin. Most of the Suffolk team from the Boston area, but a couple of players plucked from other spots in the country. DePrizio kicks it across. George Grilikis, one of those 9 Suffolk freshmen. Circus shot, and it goes. Grilikis out of Lowell, averaging close to 8 points a game in his first season. That was a nifty move. So it's 2-all, about 90 seconds in. UMass Boston to the offensive end. In the corner, Iser Barnes passed up a look at 3.
Yeah, in the last possession, you saw Sam Freeman take the jumper.
Sets up a look for Alex Sanchez, doesn't go. A couple of jump shots in a row for the Beacons here.
He hasn't taken a lot of those this year. He's most of a post-up guy and short, easy lay-ins.
On the drive, ball stripped away from Grilikis. Here's one of those defense-to-offense sequences as Iser Barnes goes coast to coast.
And defense to offense, and it is Iser Barnes, the player of the game, player to watch, and he's looking good early.
First 2 for Barnes, who's averaging about 13.5 points a game. 4-2 UMass Boston. We have played 2.5 minutes. Grilikis in low. DePrizio backing in on Freeman into the paint. DePrizio, righty hook is good. Strong take from Steven DePrizio, forcing Sam Freeman to give ground.
And good defense by Sam there, not giving up the early foul, which the Beacons really can't do with a small bench.
That was one of your keys to the game beforehand today. Here's the freshman Sanchez. Now senior Dan Powers out of nearby Westwood, Massachusetts, played at Prep Power Catholic Memorial, and his 3 doesn't go.
And you mentioned that Dan is a huge three-point shooter for the Beacons, so we'll see how many knocks down today, because I'm sure that will be a key to the game.
Well, they play a style here at UMass Boston similar to what they've played at Catholic Memorial for the last decade and a half. Run and gun and shoot it from the outside. In tight, Quinn McCartney left it short. Easy rebound, Dan Powers, and here come the Beacons again. Freeman from straight away. No. 2 jump shots already for Freeman, and he's missed 1 long, 1 short. So slow start offensively for UMass Boston, a 4-4 game, 3.5 minutes in. Here's a long 3. No. Didn't go down for Grilikis. Look at Sanchez push the pace. Dishes it off, and Powers takes it to the rack for 2.
And you see the last possession. I mean, there was about 4 Beacons in the paint looking for a rebound, and Sanchez ended up with it and just made it to the offense.
First 2 for Powers, who averages about 11 a game. Played about 4 minutes, 6-4 UMass Boston over Suffolk in the final game before a 3-week winter break for both of these sides. Grilikis open for 3, clanked it. Strong rebound, Careem Kirksey. Here's the push again from Iser Barnes to the 10. It's blocked, out of bounds, off of Barnes. So it'll go to Suffolk. Came down and caught Barnes by the foot. 15:49 to go, 6-4 Beacons. You're watching on the Beacons Broadcast Network. As the Beacons, Dan Powers, though, years apart.
You can see that the Rams are really trying to do the 4 out, 1 in, and really try to use their big man to create offense.
Does space the floor as well. Here's Ty Lee, 5'10 freshman, just into the game. He missed the layup. Lee out of Boston, played at New Mission High School, which won a state championship last year.
Another very good freshman point guard that the Beacons have gotten this year.
In tight, DePrizio muscles it past Freeman, and Suffolk has its first lead of the game.
It'll be interesting if they move over, well, right now Dan Powers isn't on the floor, but if move over someone else and try to help Sam Freeman in double teaming DePrizio.
Yeah, so now it's a small look for the Beacons. They have 4 guards on the floor around Freeman. Iser Barnes knocks down the jumper. Early 4 points for Barnes, who transferred from Leiden State a couple of years ago and has really developed into a nice player for the Beacons. 8-all. Baseline drive and dish from Michael Hagopian.
A very small.
Grilikis lost it out of bounds, stays with Suffolk.
A very small lineup for the Beacons,
Yep.
and it'll be interesting if they try to utilize DiPrizio more right now when they have a smaller lineup.
And now it's even smaller because Sam Freeman is left and Dan Powers has come in, so nobody taller than 6'2" for UMass Boston right now. In tight, DiPrizio trying to take advantage. A little bit of a kick out. Here's Thomas Duffy, reigning GNAC Rookie of the Week, and he notches 2 more.
And Duffy had a wide open 3. The Beacons really forced the fact to make him come in, and he did.
Look at Barnes accelerate for 2. Stepped right past the defense of the much bigger DiPrizio, so the small Beacon lineup utilizing its speed there.
And that's what Barnes has brought to the table this year.
Good hustle from Cesar, who got a piece of it to knock it out.
Really being able to take it to the rack and make his own shot instead of just pulling up for a jumper.
There's Matt McLean inbound for Suffolk. Another one of those guys who is from a faraway area, unlike most of these two rosters. McLean from Miami decided to toughen up and take the Boston Winters instead of Winters in South Beach.
Yeah, always interested in why people do that.
Duffy on the drive and dish into the corner. Hagopian for 3. Sophomore Michael Hagopian's on the board. He averages about 11 points a game. Hard drive from Ty Lee to draw contact. See if that's ruled on the floor in the act of shooting. Foul called on the floor against Gemma, his first. Sideline inbound for the Beacons coming. Couple of substitutions. Suffolk will enter in Kevin Caruso, a sophomore from Millis, along with Jonathan Eng, a freshman from Wayland, to take the place of Steve DiPrizio and Jim Gemma. Jump ball down low as Powers tried to muscle his way past the newly entered Caruso. Alternate possession gives it back to Suffolk.
Very small lineup now for the Rams. It looks like they took on what UMass did and just subbed out all their big men.
The tallest players on each side. The 6'2" Powers for UMass Boston, the 6'4" Caruso sets a screen up top. 15 to shoot for the Rams, who are 2-7 on the season. Hagopian has an early 5. Hagopian's 2 for 2 from the floor. One of the top outside shooters for this Rams group. And that's a travel. Ty Lee came down before he could get rid of the pass. First turnover for the Beacons in a game that's been very clean so far over the opening 7.5 minutes.
Yeah, both big men. I mean, Sam Freeman and DiPrizio for the Rams. No fouls for both of them, and they're already out. It's interesting to see that, especially with the last game of the semester and such a long break.
I got to try and manage those minutes over the course of the game still as Hagopian's free again. This one rattles out. Ty Lee pushes. Cesar for 3. Rattles out. Weak side rebound to Thomas Duffy, freshman from Fairfield, Connecticut.
Another Beacon that has gotten a lot more minutes this year than last year, Neil Cesar, and he's played very good so far.
Cesar averaging about 8 points a game in his senior season. It's Matt McLean with 10 to shoot. Leave it off for Duffy, and he turns it over. Powers the steal. Works with Lee. 2-on-1 is broken up. Outstanding defense from Matt McLean. Suffolk survives with a 5-point lead, 11:25 to go.
Ty Lee so far this year has been a little shy taking this shot. You can see it there, dishing it out at the last minute, which ended up being a turnover.
Does lead the Beacons in assists with about 5 a game, but there's turnover. Open look, and it does not fall for Caruso. Barnes, offensive foul. Ran over the top of Matt McLean. So it's the first foul on Iser Barnes, the second on the Beacons, and it brings us to a timeout on the floor. 11:04 to go. Suffolk 15, Beacons 10. You're watching on the Beacons Broadcast Network.
Campus UMass system is the only public research university that the people of Massachusetts established to create better futures for themselves, but also for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts as a whole. It's a university that educates 73,000 students every day and graduates 17,000 graduates every year. We are the university that educates the workforce of Massachusetts. We're one of the state's 3 major academic research engines: research that saves and improves people's lives, and research that drives the innovation economy of Massachusetts. We provide services and economic opportunity to every region of the Commonwealth. The noted historian David McCullough once said that two great concepts, university and Massachusetts, come together in only one place, and we are very aware of how fortunate we are to bear the name University of Massachusetts. We recognize that we are truly here for a reason, and that recognition inspires us and drives us every single day.
(15-10), Suffolk leads UMass Boston early with Steve Witkowski. I'm Bill Spalding. Glad to be with you on the Beacons Broadcast Network. UMass Boston hasn't really been able to run much yet, and a big reason why. Suffolk's doing a good job taking care of the ball, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, we looked at it before. 80 points per game UMass is averaging, and right now they only have 10 through the first 10 minutes.
Good transition through the pressure. Matt McLean missed a three. Powers looking to push off the Beacon rebound, and he's slowed at midcourt. Thomas Duffy stopped him. Powers, great feed, an easy finish for Careem Kirksey, the senior from Dorchester, who transferred in from the Massachusetts College of Language Arts, MCLA.
Yeah, very good, very talented individual that it came from a transfer, and he's played a big role in the Beacons this year.
Back the other way, not much defensive resistance for the Beacons as Cameron Powers scores.
Yeah, interesting because the defense for the Beacons really has been lacking, and that's what they pride themselves the most on.
5-point lead for Suffolk. He talked about it earlier. Beacons do not spend much time practicing offense, as there's a reach-in foul against Matt McLean, his first. Majority of the Beacons practice sent on the defensive end because they know if they get stops, they're able to run the other way for easy buckets, and there have not been many of them today.
Exactly. In an interview with Sam Freeman a couple weeks ago, he talked about the fact that they really don't practice much plays in practice. All they do is really practice full court press, traps, and different defensive tactics.
Offensive foul on Freeman. Illegal screen set against Jonathan Eng. First foul on Freeman, third on the Beacons. And when you talk about Freeman needing to avoid foul trouble, those are the cheap ones you really don't want to see.
Exactly. I mean, and I don't think there's anyone on the Beacons that can really handle with Steven DiPrizio.
Eng threw it away. Ball goes back to UMass Boston as Eng was trying to get it to a wide-open McLean. If you're Suffolk, though, you'll deal with a dead ball turnover because, again, the Beacons are unable to run off a dead ball turnover, unlike a live ball turnover.
Exactly. I mean, a live ball turnover where you're having Alex Sanchez or Iser Barnes that are really just driving the floor and can really take it to the rack and maneuver.
Sanchez back in the game. Jumper doesn't go. Offensive rebound and a foul. Dason Sinelli, the freshman from Wrighton, Boston, with the board, and he'll head to the line for two.
Dason Sinelli is one of those players that we were talking about before that was at Tufts, and Coach Harris needed someone because a couple of their big men were in trouble.
Quinn McCartney picks up the foul, his first, and the first free throw is good for Sinelli, averaging about 10 minutes a game in his first season and averaging about 3 points a game. Knocks them both down. Beacons back within three at 17-14.
Very good built for a basketball player here in Beaconville.
Beacons get the trap and force a travel. So there's that trap the Beacons will throw from time to time. Really strong work by Neil Cesar coming over for the double team to trap on the sideline.
And you can see on the bench a lot of intensity. That's the first time I really heard the bench all day. In the last game that they were here, they were all over the place. So hopefully they wake up and...
Powers, tough take. Dan Powers with 4 points, and in a more untraditional way for Powers, 2 layups on ball drives instead of outside jumpers.
Well, yeah, with Sam Freeman not being on the court right now, I mean, he's got to take that role as a big man.
Beacons back within 1. They've been down by as much as 5. This is Cameron Powers, no relation to Dan. Just 6 to shoot. McLean with 4 to shoot. He's pickpocketed. The steal for Ty Lee. Beacons push it. Alex Sanchez sticks it home. UMass Boston leads.
And you can see they're trying to press right now and really try to pressure the freshmen that are on the court.
Yeah, starting to get this game played at the pace they want. It's broken this time by Suffolk. McLean, bounce pass down low, and a stick in. Kevin Caruso for 2. Timeout Suffolk and head coach Jeff Duran.
Really broke that press well. I mean, they had 3-on-1 against Powers, and you can't have him commit the foul there. He's just got to let him lay it in.
30-second timeout. Now, Beacons have finally, about 10 minutes in, flipped the pacing of this game a bit. Suffolk was able to play in the half court for the first 10 minutes, last minute and a half. Beacons have run. They've put the full court pressure on, and it's likely why you're seeing Jeff Duran take the timeout even after the Suffolk made basket, try and stem the Beacon momentum a bit.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're starting to press a lot more and play a lot better defense, but it was really interesting to see how Suffolk really handled that first press of the game and really just pickpocketed the defense that the Beacons were putting out there.
It was a near turnover because Cameron Powers was trapped in the corner, but he somehow got out of that trap, and once he broke the pressure, it allowed Suffolk to run with a 3-on-1 advantage. 19-18, Suffolk leads. Iser Barnes leads all scorers with 6 points for UMass Boston.
Yeah, I mean, Powers is a freshman. It'll be interesting to see how he really handles this full court press.
Layup wouldn't fall for Kirksey, but the rebound is out off Suffolk. Careem Kirksey played at Burke High School in Boston before heading out to MCLA out in the western part of the state, transferring back home for his final year of eligibility here at UMass Boston.
And DePrizio checked back in. It'd be interesting to see if they put Freeman back in to really match the size that the Rams are putting out there.
Here's Sanchez, was all league at Salem High School. Missed the jumper, and the ball is out to Suffolk. Beacon settling for a lot of jump shots early today, Steve, and that's not necessarily their game.
No, not their game at all, and you can see that Alex Sanchez, I mean, Suffolk has some big guards that their hands were in their face, and he can't really do anything about that.
This is Cameron Powers, freshman guard from Connecticut. This is Jonathan Eng, another freshman from right in Wayland, Massachusetts. Handoff McLean wants three. No, left it short. Physical rebound for Kirksey. Beacons push it again with Ty Lee. Powers to the rim, left it short. And a physical rebound. DePrizio just ripped it away from Powers. Ball back to Suffolk. Little slip screen, and the layup falls off the rim. DePrizio missed it. Good pass from Powers. Now Dan Powers open for a transition three. Clanked it.
Dan Powers 0 for 2 from 3 today.
Offensive rebound. Powers in tight, and he's fouled. Throw the foul on DePrizio. That's his first, as the Beacons made something out of a second chance on the possession. Brings us to a timeout on the floor with 7:14 to go in the first half. It's a close one early. Suffolk 19, UMass Boston 18. You're watching in the Beacons Broadcast Network. At the Clark Athletic Center, UMass Boston and Suffolk in the final game before both teams head out to about a 3-week winter break. Beacons will next return to action on January 3rd, Suffolk on January 5th. With Steve Witkowski, Bill Spalding, glad to be with you. 19-18 Suffolk early. The Rams just 2-7, but they have slowed the fast-paced Beacons down, and 6-3 UMass Boston having to work to create those opportunities around the rim that so often are there for them in transition.
Yeah, I mean, Suffolk, we talked about it before, they play a lot of tight games just because of the slowness of the pace, so this is no surprise at all. But it'd be interesting to see how the Beacons really try to speed up their offense and defense.
Dan Powers at the free throw line. He was fouled by Steve DePrizio before the break.
And Powers really acting as a big man as of late because Sam Freeman's been out.
Powers hits the free throw. 5 points today for Powers, and everything's been inside. A couple of layups and now this free throw. He's 0 for 2 from 3 today, where he shoots 43% on the season. Makes both free throws, 6-point game, and right on cue, here comes Sam Freeman taking Dan Powers' spot. 6 for Powers, 6 for Barnes for UMass Boston, and then 2 apiece for Sanchez, Freeman, Kirksey, and Sinelli. That's the Beacons 20. For Suffolk, 19 points. They're led by 5 points from Michael Hagopian on a 3 and a 2.
And Suffolk really just tearing apart that press.
Beacons got a hand on the pass, and the ball bounced out off Suffolk. It hit Grilikis and glanced out of bounds, so UMass Boston takes it back, forcing a 5th Suffolk turnover.
As I was just saying, the Beacons were, the Rams really tore apart that full court press, but the Beacons really still pressuring in the half court offense or defense.
Here's an open look for Iser Barnes, and he knocks it down. First Beacon trifecta of the day. Iser's hot early with 9.
Iser's such a versatile player with either defense, offense, and making his own shot, creating his own shot.
Beacons lead by 4. This is the largest lead of the game for UMass Boston. Quinn McCartney on the baseline drive. Gemma for the answer. Off the heel, rebound Ty Lee. Beacons guards do a good job rebounding, and they have to because the Beacons play that 4-guard lineup.
Yeah, we talked about it before. They all crash the boards. I mean, when you see a Beacons guard really get a rebound, you can see 4 Beacons players and only 1 Ram.
Lee on the kick out, Sinelli. Off the back of the rim, rebound for DePrizio. This is Gemma again, little crossover move, finds DePrizio, and he threw it too low. Takeaway for the Beacons. Barnes ahead of the pack, knocks it in for 2. UMass Boston has scored 7 in a row.
Iser Barnes doing a great job running the floor and really getting out there for the Beacons for the easy lay-in.
25-19, UMass Boston by 6.
Seats really filling up here at the Clark Athletic Center Gymnasium for the last game of the first semester.
DePrizio from the outside left it short. Beacons will settle for that all day long.
Yeah, interesting to see him out there when you have such a small lineup on the floor.
Just 3 for 14 from 3. Barnes wants 3. Long rebound. Here comes the push from Grilikis. He's stripped, sticks with it, plus the foul. So George Grilikis was denied the first time, comes back with 2, plus a free throw. Already 6 points today for the freshman Grilikis.
Yeah, he was hot outside with the jumper, and he really created his own shot there by taking to the hole and being aggressive.
Grilikis, another Central Catholic product, one of the top programs in the Boston area and really in Massachusetts year in, year out. They compete to make it to the Garden and compete for state championships.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at up and down this roster, it's a lot of Eastern Massachusetts players that are just coming to either UMass Boston, which is a state school, or Suffolk University, which is in the heart of Boston.
Grilikis has 7 points to lead Suffolk, 25-22. UMass Boston up 3. Tough shot, Kirksey. Not even close.
That'll be the interesting part for Coach Harris. I mean, he's in his second year here, but see if maybe 4 or 5 years down the line, if he really recruits outside of Mass.
Grilikis couldn't hit on the layup. He was challenged that time by Kirksey. Yeah, you look at the UMass Boston roster right now, and all but 1 player are from Massachusetts. Only Michael Sanders from the Bronx outside of the Commonwealth. It's a kick out for Cesar. Yes! Neil Cesar cans the 3-pointer. The Beacons second. UMass Boston's back up 6.
And not only Massachusetts, but only Eastern Massachusetts. It's not like it's Central Mass or Western Mass. It's really only Eastern Massachusetts.
Gemma's open for 3. Not even close. Recycle the offense for Suffolk. Off the offensive rebound, here's Michael Hagopian. Floater. Off the heel. Easy weak side rebound, uncontested to Kirksey.
You can see the difference between offenses.
Lee all the way, not even hesitating. First tip for Ty Lee, soft off the window.
UMass Boston really tries to take it to the hole, make their own shot, and Suffolk just passes it around, kind of hoping that they get an opening, especially with DePrizio.
Beacons have done a nice job on DePrizio. He has only scored 3 points today. Reverse layup doesn't go. DePrizio's tip missed as well, and Iser Barnes has a rebound. Barnes pushing 1-on-3, pulls it out, and Beacons will be forced to recycle. Here's Lee, 5'10 freshman from Boston. Offensive foul, and it goes on Freeman.
Another foul on Freeman, and it'd be interesting to see if they take him out here. I mean, he's just been kind of a couple stupid fouls, especially against DePrizio.
2 fouls on Freeman, both offensive fouls, brings us to a timeout on the floor with 3:09 to go. Beacons 30 and Suffolk 22. With Steve Witkowski, Bill Spaulding, glad to be with you here on the Beacons Broadcast Network. 30-22, UMass Boston. It was a slow start for the Beacons. They only scored 10 points in the first 9 minutes. Over the last 8 minutes, they've scored 20 points, and they've been able to get this game going at a much faster clip.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the 2 guards. I mean, you look at Iser Barnes and Alex Sanchez really just running the floor and, I mean, just getting easy lay-ins. The 2 big men that we talked about, DePrizio and Freeman, haven't really done much as of late.
What's been the key to getting the pace up? Is it just that they've been able to execute on offense, which then allows them to set up that pressure defense, or have they been taking the ball from defense to offense?
Yeah, I mean, you look at their offensive tactics, they really just drive the hole and try to get to the rack. Instead of like Suffolk, you could see they're just kind of passing it around and seeing if they get an open shot, and I think the Beacons were doing that for the first 10 minutes and realized how slow the game was going.
Well, there's a reason why the Beacons don't practice offensive sets all that much on offense, because their offense is pretty simple. It's a lot of isolation, drive and dish type of basketball, and then push it in transition. Defense is the key for this UMass Boston group. Hagopian left alone, knocks down his second 3 of the game.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at UMass Boston's lineup, you got a lot of shorter athletes that can really weave in, kind of like Isaiah Thomas for the Celtics.
Yep. 8 points now for Michael Hagopian, another local product from Watertown High School. Powers has been working inside all game, and he sticks in 2 more, soft off the window.
Yep.
8 points for Dan Powers.
And still playing as that big man, really dominating down low and really getting the upper hand on DePrizio.
Wouldn't expect to see Freeman again before halftime with those 2 fouls. DePrizio. This is Gemma, going to go behind the back. Hagopian creates some space. Jumper doesn't fall. $1 million move, just didn't get the finish. The Beacons run it back the other way. Alex Sanchez underneath the hoop, and he telegraphed the pass. Steal for Gemma.
And Alex Sanchez, one of the things about him, he's had a couple...
Perlikis carried the basketball, give it back to the Beacons.
A couple turnovers a game, and you can see that as of late, a couple turnovers by him that has been costly for the Beacons.
Yeah, Sanchez averaging 11 points as a freshman, but he is averaging 3 turnovers a game, and plays so quickly, every once in a while maybe his body gets ahead of his brain on the offensive end.
Powers, you see him kind of want the 3, but he passes it off.
Well, he's missed the 3 twice today, but he's been pretty efficient going to the rim with his early 8 points. Here's an open 3, Cesar. Rebound to DePrizio, stripped from behind. Comes back to Kirksey. Didn't get it to go, and this time DePrizio grabs it with 2 hands.
And Neil Cesar taking the 3 right there. I mean, last year, I don't think I've seen him take an outside jumper once last year.
This year he's taken it 30 times.
Much more a part of the offense this year.
DePrizio doesn't get it to go, follows his miss. Back at Powers, DePrizio, he's got it, plus the foul. Couple strong possessions for DePrizio, just using his size on both ends.
Yeah, that's a tough play for the Beacons, just because they have so many smaller guys down low, and they're just hacking at them.
5-point game, Beacons on top. 1:04 to go before the half. Be interesting to talk to Jason Harris at halftime and see his thoughts on the pace this game has been played at.
I mean, when you look at it, they're on pace to
got 70 points.
70 points,
yeah,
which isn't too bad, but it is a little bit slower than they'd like.
32-28 inside the final minute. Here's Ty Lee to lead the charge to the offensive end. Iser Barnes, top scorer in the half with 11. Barnes takes it into the paint. Sets up Sanchez. Clean look from 10, didn't go, but a rebounding foul against Suffolk.
Sanchez a little off today. I mean, they do have bigger guards on him, which is tough for the outside jumper that he has been taking tonight.
Thomas Duffy caught with the foul. It's his second. It's the 5th on Suffolk. Fresh shot clock for the Beacons. About a 12-second difference between game clock and shot clock. Barnes left it short. Hagopian challenged him with a physical arm across the front.
Dason Sinelli, great defense right now.
Lee tried to jump the passing lane and nearly got there. Tips it out. 26 seconds to go in the half. A 4-second difference between game clock and shot clock. This is Gemma. Guarded by Sanchez. 12 on the shot clock. DePrizio. Handoff for Gemma. 8 to shoot. Comes around the horn. Grelikis sets up Gemma. He wants 3. Give him 3! Timeout Beacons with 4.7 seconds to go. It's a 1-point game on Gemma's first three-pointer of the day.
Yeah, Gemma's been shooting great for the Rams and really been picking them up.
So 32-31, 4.7 seconds to go. We'll see what the Beacons draw up here with a player like Sanchez or Lee, two of those faster point guards. 4.7 seconds is plenty of time for them to dribble it to the front court.
It'll be interesting to see if they even put in Sam Freeman just for this one possession, which it doesn't look like it's going to happen.
Jason Harrison played it safe with his top scorer, who's picked up 2 fouls, and they both come on the offensive end so far today.
Yeah, kind of cheap fouls, and you really want to stay away from that, especially playing a big man in DePrizio at 6'6".
Referees added another 1.5 seconds to the clock, so 6.5 seconds to go in this first half, and that'll make a big difference here. Get it in for Dason Sinelli, handoff Barnes. With 3 seconds, Iser Barnes all the way to the 10. Doesn't go. He got the shot the Beacons were looking for, but didn't finish. We head to halftime. It's 32-31. UMass Boston coming up after this quick interview with head coach Jason Harris on the Beacons Broadcast Network.
The University of Massachusetts Boston. It's just minutes from downtown, and the Princeton Review calls it one of the best values in the country. A nationally recognized institution of academic excellence and research, UMass Boston offers more than 150 undergraduate and graduate programs, 16 additional sports, and more than 100 schools. To learn more about the opportunities waiting for you at UMass Boston, visit in person or online. UMass Boston, a research university with a teaching soul.
Back with Coach Harris. Coach, 1-point lead at halftime. Was that game played at the pace you're looking for there in the first half?
Nope.
When you think about the adjustments you're looking, what can you do to speed the pace of play up in half two?
We're leaving shooters. We're getting carved up in our half-court defense. We're not very focused right now. We worried about it a little bit, just our maturity going into this game. We got to bring more energy, more. Again, we have 1 offensive rebound. We've taken 8 threes. We've only taken 4 free throws, 8 turnovers. This is not the pace we want to play at right now. We're playing in the 60s. We're playing at their tempo, and we're at home. And they're imposing their will a little bit on us, and I'm disappointed in that.
All right, Coach, good luck in the second half. That's Coach. Beacons up 1, but looking for more when we come back in half number 2. Right now, though, we're going to take a look at the highlights from one of the Beacons' biggest wins of this season, a 2-point win on the road against Tufts.
Here's the freshman Alex Sanchez from Salem, Massachusetts. There's Freeman.
It's a good shot right there.
So one game handling. As here's Sam Freeman. Guarded by Pileski. Pileski gets his arm up. Freeman's shot is wayward, but it'll be put in on the second effort by number 23, Dan Power.
This is the man you want to run the offense through right here.
That's a steal there. Iser Barnes. He's got a breakaway. No one guarding him. And he'll get that layup.
Someone who doesn't play above the rim, but just has such great foot. Let's go! Has a knack for putting the ball in the basket.
Sanchez with a little nutmeg there to get it to his teammate Freeman. Angle again. And that'll be tipped down by number 10. Herrera there on the tip.
Beacons won. Over the floor.
And long from Caesar, and he'll make that 3. And that's Sanchez with a layup. Ball down with Barnes.
Good rebound by Madsen there, keeping the ball alive.
Barnes taking it all the way. Sanchez. Caesar looks at the 3, but decides against it.
Risky Jumbo's length really causing problems. That's a great take.
Sanchez and Smith is going to start this counterattack. Everett Dayton. Freeman can't get to up to Drew Madsen. And Powers gets his arm in there, and he'll take this, and Sanchez will try and use his speed to hit the basket, and he does. And Sanchez is going to let this run down a bit. Powers from 3.
Really tough shot.
And Madsen gets his hand in front of that pass, intended for Freeman, and Dayton's on the break.
Great play by Barnes there.
Mini pace.
Game breaking down a little bit here.
Barnes from 3 uncontested, and he'll make that.
He's in his zone, his man zone here.
Powers from 3. We saw him make one at the end of the half. He makes one at the start of the second.
Brought down a basketball hoop at gym they were at.
And rejected is Eric Savage by Dan Powers there, but the Jumbos stick with it. Yeah, Bob Shelton, I was talking to him earlier in the season, as a foul is called there.
That's his game right there. He likes that mid-range shot.
Here's Freeman, and he'll get that again.
Beacons likes the basketball.
Dan Powers driving to the basket, and he'll get that to go.
And providing an instant basket.
Speaking of athletic, Sam Freeman will get that one to go for 2 points. Sam Freeman will take the shot. Defended well from Patrick Racy, but it'll go in off the tip from Kirksey.
Some rebound. Limit the number of chances they have per possession.
Sam Freeman will make that run. Barnes gets deflected by Pileski, but Engel quickly gives it away. Back to Barnes.
He does not give up on the play. Time and time again. Plays never over to the whistle. And
rebounds as they've had, Tom. They've gotten a lot of possession from mistakes from the Jumbos like that one. Neil Caesar driving, beats out Tariq Smith, and he'll get the layup. Here's Iser Barnes from the free throw line. Again, Careem Kirksey on the second chance. Gives the pace back into the game, replace Garrett. And that's an interception from Alex Sanchez. He's all alone, and he's going to get that to go.
would do big things for this Jumbos team. Great play by Everett Dayton.
Tariq Smith from 3, and he makes it!
Jumbos struggling blindly.
Jumbos looking for the 3. Tariq Smith again. And Tariq Smith, nothing but net here.
Again to Freeman.
8 seconds left. They're going to try and win it here or go to overtime. Freeman getting close to the basket. Guarded by Pileski. And it's Sam Freeman with 2 points. 1.9 seconds remaining. Looks like it's going to go long.
Long, bigger.
Pace takes the shot. And it's short, and the UMass Boston Beacons have upset the number 5 ranked Tufts Jumbos with a score of 76-74.
Highlights from the Beacons win on the road at Tufts. An outstanding win for UMass Boston as the Beacons went 76-74 to beat the number 5 team in the country. Let's take a look at the halftime team stats. It was not a great first half for UMass Boston in terms of the pacing that the Beacons want to play at. Beacons only scored the 32 points, but they still have the lead, 32-31. Both teams shooting about 40% from the field. Beacons struggling to knock down threes, just 2 of 8. And that 9 turnover number for Suffolk, while still high, is not quite what the Beacons are looking for. They try to force turnovers, take them the other way. The other number, which you heard Coach Harris talk about in our halftime interview, is the rebounding. Beacons have been out-rebounded 19-16 and only have the 1 offensive rebound. So UMass Boston looking for a little bit more, but let's take a look at the big plays of that first half. Our first half highlights here on the Beacons Broadcast Network.
We'll do that.
Duffy on the drive and dish. In for three. Soft stopped him. For Careem Kirksey, the senior.
The half-court offense or defense.
Down against DePrizioni. At Clark Athletic Center, 32-31, UMass Boston at halftime. Let's take a look around the Little East Conference. A couple other games going on today in Little East play. The Beacons not alone in their final game here in the non-conference. You see UMass Dartmouth with a halftime lead on MIT and Western Connecticut State, a halftime lead on Worcester State, but both those games close, so all three Little East teams in close ones so far. Now we'll take a look around Beaconville, see what's going on across the UMass Boston athletics. If we look around Beaconville, women's hockey, number 10 in the country on Saturday, fell to number 8 Connecticut College. Men's hockey with that win over Wentworth. Tomorrow, women's basketball take on Westfield State. We'll have that broadcast for you at 5:30. Take a look at the first half team leaders in this one. For UMass Boston, some of the leaders include Iser Barnes, who scored 11 points. Dan Powers also had 8. In terms of rebounding, Careem Kirksey and Dan Powers each had 5 rebounds for UMass Boston. If you look over the other side for Suffolk, 8 rebounds, 7 points for Steve DePrizio inside. He's used his height. Leading scorer, though, is Michael Hagopian. Hagopian with 8 points, 3 of 6 shooting, and 2 of 2 from 3. Well, second half is coming up in about 5 minutes, so for now we'll send it over to Seth Arensky, who caught up with Jason Harris on Monday's episode of Beacons 360.
Hello and welcome back to Beacons 360, episode number 10. We had Jason Harris on the first episode. Back 9 episodes later. Coach, a very difficult stretch. You guys just went through 4 road games in 8 days, 3-1 mark. How are you feeling after that stretch? You guys beat one nationally ranked team, lost to another, and beat 2 tough teams on the road on top of those 2 nationally ranked games.
Overall, I'm pleased. You know, we went 3-1, like you said, in 8 days. I mean, it was definitely a challenge for us. I think we ran into a little bit of fatigue, but you know, the coach and the competitor in me is upset that we have that one. You know, our goal over that 8-day stretch was to go 4-0. Obviously, we knew it was going to be tough, but just couldn't get it done.
The marquee game during that stretch was the win over, at that point, number 5 Tufts University. A game-winning shot from Sam Freeman, putting you guys ahead with 1.9 seconds left. We talked a little bit about it last week after the game, but now that you've had a little bit more time to digest that game, what really sticks out in your mind about your team's ability to really knock off a tough team on the road?
You know, we've kind of started talking about just we over me and, you know, staying together and just, you know, for the full 40 minutes, just keep, you know, trusting in the system and keep playing for each other. We've also kind of talked about fight and flight. You know, obviously you hear about, you know, animals with the fight or flight and their natural instinct, but we feel like the way our team is built, we can fight or we can run. So we can play fast or slow, and, you know, we think we can be a tough matchup for anybody that we have left on our schedule if we're playing the way that we play.
One of the things that has really stuck out, at least in my mind, statistically, is the fact that you're out-rebounding your opponents despite the fact that typically you're putting out a very small lineup. How are you emphasizing that during practice, and what's been a key to you guys being so successful in the class?
You know, we have a couple rebounding drills that we do every day. I mean, even during these 8-day stretch, you know, a lot of coaches would call me and ask me, like, are you taking it easy on their legs? And I mean, no, our guys know, you know, it doesn't matter how many games we've played in a couple days before or after. It doesn't matter. We're going to just continue to practice hard. But we have a couple rebounding drills that are just, you know, almost all-out chaos. And we try to carry that over into the game, just competitiveness and, you know, rewarding the aggressor, because that's kind of what rebounding is. It's a mentality of aggression.
One of the unique things about the Little East Conference tournament is you do play 3 games potentially in 5 or 6 days. How does a stretch like this help prepare you to potentially get into the tournament? We've seen it from Keene State the last 2 years. You don't have to be the top seed to necessarily be the team that's crowned the champion.
No, but we'd like to be, Seth. I mean, there's a reason we play 14 conference games. It's to hopefully host the tournament. But ultimately, like you said, it's to win the tournament. Playing these 3 games, in such a short time, I think it was good for our guys. Just to kind of see, you get one day, you get 30, 45 minutes on the court in between to prepare. You can't really do much physically. I just said that we still go hard, we do, but everything is cut down. But just the mental aspect and the classroom and the film aspect of it, and then taking care of your bodies. Our trainers do a great job. Our guys go in there, they get work done, and they kind of, I don't know how they get them back on the court, but they do, and we're grateful for that.
One of the unique things about this year's team is you did bring in a pretty big freshman class that you were able to recruit that's already paid dividends. We've talked a lot about Alex Sanchez and Ty Lee, but we're seeing a little bit more of Dason Sinelli, Mohamed Gabor's coming off the bench. How much is maybe having a shorter rotation, having a few less players here in first semester, helping those guys mature maybe faster than they would be if you had a larger roster?
Well, they're getting thrown into the fire. I mean, we don't have time to, bring them along. Like you said, we're at Tufts, we get a little bit of foul trouble. And you got to look down the bench and you see an 18-year-old who, you're not sure if he's ready or not, but he competes hard in practice and he'll play hard. And, you just hope that he's ready when you put him out there.
Finally, Coach, you guys back at home tomorrow for the first time in a while, a 5-game road trip. You've got Suffolk University tomorrow, the team that you beat last year in your first ever win as the Beacons head coach. What are you looking forward to tomorrow, trying to head into the break at 7-3?
First, I'm looking forward to a great crowd. The last time we were at home, I mean, it was a great crowd. It really helped us. Even though we lost the game against Daniel Webster, it really helped us fight through some fatigue. Suffolk's a good team. I mean, they're 2-7, but their average loss is by 7 points or less. I mean, they're young. They want to play in the 60s. So it's kind of a little bit of a clash of styles. They want to play slow. We want to play fast. For anybody who hasn't seen us play this year, we play a lot faster than we have in last season, and so we even want to play faster moving forward. So if you're not doing anything other than finals, you have no excuse not to be at the Clark Center tomorrow. Send us off the right way. Let's get to 7-3. Let's finish our finals, and let's get ready for next semester.
It's a pretty clear message from head coach Jason Harris. Thanks so much for joining us. After the break, we'll have Raven Kelsey of the women's basketball team to talk about their recent success.
And we're set to go for half number 2 at the Clark Athletic Center. We've got a good one. UMass Boston and Suffolk in a 1-point game. Beacons 32, Rams 31. With Steve Witkowski, I'm Bill Spalding. Only 20 minutes separating these two teams from their long winter breaks. You want to go into winter break with momentum. Jason Harris was not pleased when we talked to him at halftime. Thought the team didn't come out focused enough. See if he has lit a fire under the white-clad Beacons as we start half 2.
Yeah, it didn't look like they came out with a lot of intensity.
Dan Powers still hasn't hit a jump shot. He's done all his scoring inside. Iser Barnes, the offensive rebound and finish. That was a key talking point for Coach Harris. He said at halftime, we only had 1 offensive rebound. Well, they got another one here and a bucket as well.
And, I mean, the player to watch before today was Iser Barnes, and so far he has had a great game and really sparking the offense for the Beacons.
At his season average of 13 points, DePrizio clanked it.
Another long shot by DePrizio.
Now 3 for 15 this season from 3, 0 for 2 today. Here's Michael Hagopian, who was red hot from the outside, a couple of 3-pointers, 8 points overall in the first half. DePrizio scored 7 points, had 8 rebounds in that first half.
Well, they had a smaller look, especially with Sam Freeman not being on the court so much.
Good deflection from Powers and a takeaway for the Beacons. Alex Sanchez accelerates to the front court, the 10th Suffolk turnover of this game.
And that's what the Beacons are looking for today is, well, in the second half, is the fact that
Freeman didn't get it. Barnes follows again. 2 offensive rebounds for Iser Barnes.
Just being aggressive down there and really wanting the ball, Iser Barnes today.
5-point lead for UMass Boston. They've scored the first 4 points of this second half. George Gralikis kick out, and Gemma traveled. Jim Gemma turns it over again. A very quick timeout for Suffolk as the Beacons have come out of the chute over the first minute 40 and scored the opening 4 points.
Yeah, I mean, they quicken up the game, and they're trying to get points on the board. I mean, they've done a great job so far.
Now, this is looking like that focused effort that Coach Harris was talking about at halftime. UMass Boston went into the half up just 32-31. Again, you could hear him when I spoke with him at halftime. His first answer, I asked him, quite simply, you happy with the pace of this game so far? It was a one-word answer, nope.
Yeah, you could definitely see that he definitely lit a fire under the tush.
Yeah, he said, if you come out focused in the second half, get things figured out. And sometimes these are tough games. The last game before a break, sometimes hard to keep your focus, knowing that you're going to have some time off. And it's not as much a case here where all the Beacon players are local, so nobody's going to be thinking about getting on a flight or a long car ride and traveling home. But even so, just the idea of having a couple of weeks off and to worry about yourself, your finals, some free time, can be distracting heading into the last game of the long schedule here in the first half of the season.
And definitely with this Beacons team, I mean, they're coming off a 3-1 road trip that many people thought they were going to kind of stumble, maybe come down a little bit, but they've really risen to the occasion, and they've had a great road trip, especially beating Tufts. I mean, this could be, they say getaway games in baseball when you're in Florida and you're coming home. They're called getaway games, but it should be interesting how they handle the last of the second half.
5-point lead for UMass Boston. Careem Kirksey into the offensive end. Powers to the rack. He's rejected. Quinn McCartney with the first block of the day for Suffolk.
And Powers again trying to take it to the hoop and be the big man that he can be, but gets rejected there.
Yeah, 8 first half points for Powers. All came in the paint. Another 3 for DePrizio, and he knocks this one down.
Looks like DePrizio's really settling for the outside 3 right there.
And he's going to force the Beacons to guard him out there if he keeps knocking him down. 10 points for DePrizio to lead Suffolk. Freeman in tight. Over DePrizio. Doesn't fall. In low. Another offensive rebound for UMass Boston. Kirksey got positioning. Draws the foul on Suffolk.
And I mean, another offensive rebound with Careem Kirksey, which is 5'11", got great positioning on DePrizio, which is 6'6".
Foul on DePrizio's his first. Freeman in tight. Can't take advantage of the second chance. Third effort is off DePrizio and out to the Beacons. So just one offensive rebound in the entire first half. 4 Beacon offensive rebounds in the first 2 minutes and 36 seconds of half 2.
Yeah, you can definitely see the intensity rising from the Beacons.
Still only a 2-point lead for UMass Boston. Freeman is back out. Beacons go small again with Tyreek Lee back into the game. Barnes back cut. Oh, it didn't go. Couldn't see the rim on that shot as he flicked it over his head and did a little too much mustard on it. But how about a 5th offensive rebound now for UMass Boston?
Yeah, I mean, just scrappy, smaller guys. Even going with a smaller lineup, they still get the offensive rebounds.
Here's Kirksey. Too strong. Powers had his paws on it. And it's out off of Suffolk. So it's another team offensive rebound. This possession has lasted about a minute for UMass Boston.
And Kirksey getting a lot of shots, just needs a little bit more touch to make a couple. Arguing about a backcourt there.
But remember, the ball can go into the backcourt off the inbound. Here's Barnes, turnaround, halfway down and out. Rebound for McCartney, and he almost threw it away. So finally, Suffolk's able to close out the Beacon possession. 2-point lead for UMass Boston. Gemma for the Suffolk lead.
Gemma on fire today and really picking up this Suffolk Rams offense.
That's his second 3, 6 points today for Gemma. Suffolk back on top, 37-36. Powers finds Alex Sanchez, and his jumper doesn't go. Haven't been many jump shots going down for UMass Boston yet today.
No, a lot of points when they take it to the basket and really have those transition points instead of trying to set up an offense and take a deeper jumper.
Jason Harris already has Sam Freeman, who just left the game, ready to check back in again at the scorer's table. DePrizio for 3 once more. Off the heel of the rim, but a tipped rebound. Drolicus sends it out for Hagopian to reset the Suffolk offense.
And interesting to see another 3 from DePrizio in the same exact spot.
Well, Beacons are giving that shot to him, and he's confident enough to take it. McCartney traveled, no basket.
Confident enough to take it, but he's 1 for 4 on the day. And, I mean, most of his points have come in the paint.
Brings us to a timeout on the floor, 15:39 to play, second half. Beacons down 1, 37-36. You're watching on the Beacons Broadcast Network.
Celebrate the soggy shoes and the slow starts. Celebrate the lessons learned along the way. These are the wins. Not the shiny, nail-biting kind. These are the last a lifetime kind.
UMass Boston scored the first 4 points of the second half, but Suffolk has rattled off 5 in a row, so the Rams lead 37-36. We've played 4 minutes, 21 seconds in half two. UMass Boston 6-3, and with a win today would surpass last year's win total when they went just 6-19 in Jason Harris's first season. Suffolk is 2-7 with Steve Witkowski, Bill Spalding. Steve, your read on the first 4+ minutes of this second half. Have you seen some major changes from half one to half two?
I mean, you just see the speed and the intensity brought by the Beacons kind of advance. Just they look more eager, and they look more ready to play than they did in the first 4 minutes of the first half.
But even so, Suffolk has outscored UMass Boston by 2 this half. So what are the Rams doing to counter?
I mean, they just been knocking down 3-pointers. I mean, with DePrizio and Jem had 2 great 3-pointers.
Freeman traveled. Beacon turnover, the 9th today for UMass Boston. UMass Boston turns on the full court pressure. Freeman jumped the passing lane and bangs it out of bounds.
And it
so it'll stick with Suffolk.
Slyly puts his hand back trying to get the call his way.
Is that sly, or is that the universal sign of I definitely touched the ball, but I'm trying to make you think I didn't? It's like putting your hands up after you've clearly committed a foul or a penalty or something like that, depending on the sport.
I'd have to go with the second one on that.
Yeah, thought so. There's DePrizio handing off for Gemma. DePrizio's wide open for the finish. Great find from Jim Gemma.
And a tough switch right there. You had Sam Freeman at the top of the point, and one of the younger point guards, smaller point guards, guarding DePrizio.
12 points today for DePrizio. Ty Lee, short, follows his miss, and he traveled with it. So there's a 6th offensive rebound this half for the Beacons, but another turnover, the 11th this game for UMass Boston.
In tough situations that they've been put in, DePrizio down low with a very big mismatch with Sam Freeman at the top of the key, just not looking their way on defense so far this half.
Suffolk working the ball up the court against the Beacon pressure. They've really had no issues breaking the full court press yet today.
I was just about to mention that. You took it right out of my mind.
McLean over for Hagopian to the rack. He's got it, plus the wrap. One more coming for Hagopian, who was hammered on his way to the basket.
Sam Freeman a little upset in this situation. That's his 3rd foul. Talking to Neil Cesar about the fact that he can't let him get past him.
3rd foul on Freeman. He has to leave. Hagopian has put Suffolk up 5. The free throw here would give the Rams their largest lead this game. And Hagopian nails it. So Michael Hagopian puts a bow on an 11-0 run for Suffolk. Couple of threes, a 3-point play, and an easy layup.
Yeah, they need someone to create a good shot for the Beacons and not just chuck up another long jumper that's contested.
Here's Lee into the paint. Kick out, Cesar for a corner 3. Too strong. Offensive board, Barnes. He falls away, left it short. Powers had his paws on the rebound but couldn't squeeze it. Suffolk's Hagopian throws it out of bounds. Turnover gives it back to the Beacons.
3 seconds. Be there all day. Call it.
6 minutes gone in this half, and all of a sudden UMass Boston has gone in the scoring drought. About 4 minutes without a bucket for the Beacons. Powers off the bottom side of the backboard. He was challenged by DePrizio.
And Sam Freeman not on the floor again, so Powers has to take it to the hole, and that's just not who he is.
Gemma for 3. Short. Rebound for Lee. Beacons having to go small because Sam Freeman, the 6'4 center, is in foul trouble. Powers takes a three and finally hits. First today for Dan Powers, 11 points for the senior.
And it'll be interesting if he stays outside and tries to take more three-pointers with the first make of the day.
Ends the 11-0 run for Suffolk. DePrizio backing in is fouled on the floor. Foul goes on Dan Powers. Fortunately for the Beacons, it's only his first. Second on UMass Boston. Overall, it's been a very clean game. There have only been 3 fouls called this half. There were only 11 fouls called total in the first half. So outside of Sam Freeman, no real foul trouble.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it to Coach Harris before this year, preseason. He said Dan Powers has got to do a better job not fouling.
DePrizio draws the foul. This one against Careem Kirksey. It's his first. Free throws coming for DePrizio, who had a slow first half, but has come alive in the second half. Already 5 points this half. Chance to go over his season average with a couple of free throws here.
Yeah, I mean, he's really taking advantage of the fact that there's not that many big men on the court, and he sees that there's an opening for a lot of points.
13 points now for DePrizio, sophomore out of Medford, Massachusetts. Played at Medford High School, just north of the city. One for two trip for DePrizio. Rebound Powers and the Beacons down 4. This is Iser Barnes, leads the Beacons today with 15 points, and he's fouled going up. 2 free throws for Barnes, who just put the shoulder down and bull rushed Matt McLean. Second foul on McLean. Free throws for the junior Barnes.
And today, when the Beacons need something to happen, they look to Iser Barnes, who's really been a great playmaker for the Beacons so far today.
Barnes makes the first free throw. Went to Charlestown High School before starting his college career at Lyndon State in Vermont. Second season with the Beacons this year. One of his better games so far this year. Both free throws give him 17 points already.
And again, player to watch. You called it today.
We've got to give some credit to our producer, Seth Arensky, too, who had the prophetic eye for that one. Nice when a plan works out.
Yeah.
Caruso kick out. Jonathan Eng way short on the 3, and Tyreek Lee picks out another rebound, his 4th today. In transition, Kirksey through contact.
And that's where the Beacons love to thrive, in transition and when there's a miss for Suffolk.
All square, 43 all. Beacons have come back from 6 down.
You could feel the pace kind of quickening in the game.
Caruso, the handoff for Hagopian, who has scored 11 points already today, over his season average of 10.5 a game. Hagopian hanging in the air, clanked a tough shot. Powers runs off the rebound. Kirksey into the paint, tough shot, didn't go. Might have forced that one a bit, but a diving rebound is loose. And a jump ball. So possession goes back to Suffolk when we return. 11:50 to go. Timeout on the floor in this second half with 11:50 to play. Beacons and Rams at 43 all. Well, it should be a timeout on the floor, but does not look like anybody has noticed it. So we'll play on, 11:50 and counting.
Interesting, because they said that.
Yeah, you usually stop under 16, under 12, under 8, and under 4. Eng's pass bounced off Barnes' foot, no kick call.
And I mean, you look at that last possession, if there's a ball on the floor, you will see the Beacons on the floor. That's what type of team they are.
Illegal screen goes against Suffolk. Throw the foul on Kevin Caruso. It's his first, the 3rd on Suffolk, and now we hit the timeout on the floor. 11:29 to play, 43-43. You're watching on the Beacons Broadcast Network.
Something I discovered in myself is that if I have a goal, then I can accomplish it.
It's a well-rounded experience.
At a Division III school, you primarily a student athlete, so the school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual.
It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
Back at Clark Athletic Center on the campus of UMass Boston. Beautiful, constantly in construction campus as they renovate the facility and make things more and more beautiful. A couple new buildings have opened in the last 2 seasons and have the ocean just off behind us here inside the Clark Athletic Center with Steve Witkowski, Bill Spalding. Maybe not necessarily the most beautiful basketball game. This has been like a construction zone over the first 28 and a half minutes.
Well,
but we've led ourselves to a tie game, 43-all.
Yeah, I mean, you could see it going back and forth with the pace kind of quickening up, and then Suffolk really taking a long possession, maybe getting an offensive rebound, and just slowing the game down.
Reach-in foul goes on Careem Kirksey, his second foul, third this half against Suffolk. The fourth this half on Suffolk.
One of the key points that Coach Harris made to really quickening up this game, he said the fact that they can't let the ball go in the net for Suffolk. And some of these wide open jumpers have gone in the net for Suffolk.
Powers rolling in the paint. Tough floater didn't go. Offensive rebound. Kirksey, and he missed it. Follows his miss again. Kirksey skies. Left it short. Powers a fourth offensive rebound. He's stripped clean. Hagopian takes it away, and here come the Rams. 43-43. So many chances for UMass Boston. Just couldn't punch the card.
Yeah, with all those offensive rebounds, I mean, maybe having a bigger body to kind of situate yourself down low might help you, but
Hagopian stripped. Kirksey took it away. 1v1 to the rim. Doesn't go. Clean defense without fouling.
Like I said before, Kirksey just needs a little more touch for a couple of those baskets to go in.
And Hagopian sticks it on the other end. 13 points for Michael Hagopian. 2-point lead for Suffolk. Out of control. Sanchez draws the foul. Just took Jonathan Eng with him for a trip down the lane. Foul goes on Eng, his first.
Sam Freeman and the big man for the Rams checking back in.
Yep, Freeman and DePrizio both re-enter. Neil Cesar also re-enters for UMass Boston. Remember, Freeman is playing now with 3 fouls.
It'll be interesting to see how Freeman really does in the last 10 minutes of this game.
Barnes somehow gets it to go. It touched every piece of the rim. 19 points today for Iser Barnes, and we've only played 3/4 of the game. 45-all. Beacons have led by as much as 5 this half, by as much as 8 overall. Suffolk has led by as much as 6 this half. DePrizio with 10 to shoot. Forced the pass. It's intercepted. Ty Lee. Iser Barnes. Stuffed, but a foul. Ooh, looked like a lot of ball for Matt McLean. Picks up his 3rd foul. 2 free throws for Iser Barnes.
Interesting take there. It looked like he had Alex Sanchez wide open, but he decided to take that for his own lane.
Now, when you're having a game like Iser Barnes, can't fault him. Already has scored 19 points, and he heads to the line for 2 more. First free throw's good. 20 points today for Barnes. And the next one goes down as well. So Iser Barnes has 21 points, 47-45 UMass Boston. Beacons have found a way to deal with the fact that Sam Freeman has only scored 2 points so far, their leading scorer, because he's been fighting foul trouble.
Yeah, really been shut down so far as of yet with the foul trouble and the fact that DePrizio is playing great defense down low.
Alex Sanchez tagged for a foul. It's his first as the Beacons turn on the full court pressure. Already 6 fouls on Suffolk this half, so every foul the rest of the way sends the Beacons to the free throw line. DePrizio, jab, step, and score. Taking advantage of the fact that Freeman has to avoid fouling. 15 points for DePrizio. We're tied again.
A couple nice moves today by DePrizio to translate into a couple points for the Rams.
Drive and dish. Cesar passed up the 3. Barnes also passes up the 3, but he gets to the rack and draws the foul. Steven DiPrizio tagged with his second foul. 2 more free throws for Iser Barnes, who's putting the Beacons on his back right now.
And I mean, you could see Iser Barnes is just taking the ball at the top of the key, and they're kind of running with him right now instead of having Sanchez take the top of the key and really see what he's got.
Yeah, offense rolling through Barnes. At this point, he has scored 19 of the Beacons' 47, but he does clank the first free throw here. Couple of substitutions on the Suffolk side. Gemma back in, as is Grilikas, the freshman from Lowell.
And looking at the outcome of this game, with the Beacons having a 1-and-1 so early in the second half, we'll see how they do shoot free throws to see if that's going to be a big part of the outcome of this game.
Barnes jumped the passing lane. You know, they're a good free throw shooting team, 73%. That's better than average, and in the Little East Conference this year, 73% puts them at first in the conference.
Well, I mean, looking at their size, they have to be 73%, just because that's free points when you get to the free throw line.
Beacons by 1. DiPrizio give and go. Extra pass, Gemma, he's fouled. Great ball movement that possession from Suffolk. Foul goes on Ty Lee, his first. Couple free throws for Jim Gemma, who has 6 points on 2 3-pointers today. He has not shot a free throw, but he's a 69% free throw shooter on the season. That's good. 7 points now for Gemma. We are tied for the 5th time in the last 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, back and forth game, change of pace game. It really has changed the whole game.
8 points now for Gemma. Suffolk back on top. Lee exits the game. Kirksey re-enters for the Beacons. Sanchez down low to Freeman. See if the Beacons can get their top scorer going. Not this time. He's stripped. Duffy turned it over. Here's Sanchez all the way. Beacons turn a turnover into the lead.
And Sam Freeman really trying to get involved in this game, but again, just losing the ball down low.
50-49 UMass Boston after the Sanchez scoop and score. The other way, Hagopian off the feed from DiPrizio. What a pass. Hagopian and DiPrizio both have 15 points for Suffolk, 30 of the Rams' 51. Freeman lowers the shoulder, hook shot, rattles in. First field goal since the opening field goal of the game for Sam Freeman. He has 4 points. Beacons back on top.
And if the Beacons want to win today, they need him to be a big part of it.
Inside the final 8 minutes, UMass Boston by 1. Beacons 6-3 on the year. Suffolk just 2-7. Hagopian fall away. Didn't need the fall away there. He had an open look.
And 3 Beacons for the rebound. I mean, that's what they preach, and that's what's going to win them the game today.
Here's Iser Barnes leading all scorers with 22 points. Freeman whirling in, traveled. Stops play with 7:18 to go in the second half. 52-51, UMass Boston over Suffolk. Stick with us for the conclusion of this one. It's going to be a lot of fun. Beacons by 1 on the Beacons Broadcast Network.
I'm the first undergraduate alumnus to lead this university. I'm very proud of that. I was literally able to transform my life because of the University of Massachusetts, and I want that for every single student that walks through the door.
$7:18 to go, second half, 52-51. UMass Boston leads in a game that's had more twists and turns than your average Six Flags roller coaster. Beacons led by as much as 8 in the first half, led by just 1 at halftime, scored the opening 4 points of the second half to go up 5, but then there was an 11-0 Suffolk run to put the Rams up 6. Beacons answered. Since then, we have had 6 ties and 4 lead changes.
And a very frustrated Sam Freeman for the Beacons. I mean, when's the point that you kind of stop feeding him down low and try to make Iser Barnes your guy.
Barnes leads all scorers with 22. Freeman, who's the Beacons' leading scorer, averaging about 18 points a game, has scored just 4 points today, dealing with 6'6" Steven DiPrizio and also dealing with foul trouble. 3 fouls today for Freeman.
It'll be interesting to see if they keep throwing it into him or just give it to Iser and make him run the offense.
Here's Michael Hagopian, long 3. Good challenge from Freeman, and Kirksey is pushed off the ball. It's a foul on DiPrizio. That was all about positioning. Kirksey's only 5'11", DiPrizio's 6'6", but Kirksey got inside him.
And it looked like a push at the end, and someone like DiPrizio even pushing Kirksey, he went to the floor.
3rd foul on DiPrizio, the 8th on Suffolk, which means a 1-and-1 free throw opportunity for Careem Kirksey here. Kirksey is 20 of 26 from the free throw line this season. He's the one who was fouled, but now the referees are trying to put Neil Cesar on the line. It was very clear that it was Careem Kirksey. It's been sorted out. Looked like the 3rd official, Hakeem Dixon, came in to correct the decision. Oh, the bounce for Careem Kirksey off the heel of the rim and in. 5 points for Kirksey. 2-point lead for the Beacons. Kirksey goes 1 for 2 on the rebound. A foul against Neil Cesar of UMass Boston. His second. 5th on the Beacons, gives possession back to Suffolk.
And once we talked about there being minimal fouls in the first half, it's kind of been borderline hackfest.
Got to hit your quota, right?
Yeah.
Beacons turning on the full court pressure. Took Suffolk 7 seconds to break it, but an easy layup was missed. Oh, Thomas Duffy just missed the layup down low. That allows Sanchez to bring it the other way. No, the tip back, yes. Neil Cesar, and that's a 4-point swing as the Beacons go up by 4.
And Neil Cesar with the tip in, but DiPrizio wasn't even in the paint for that.
4-point lead for the Beacons, 6.5 minutes to go. Gemma gets it into the corner. Hagopian wants 3. Well short. Easy rebound. Kirksey, who's played good minutes in the second half. Tough catch for Barnes along the sideline. Back to Sanchez, who has scored 4 points today. Inside Freeman, eyeing DiPrizio. Jumper is good. There's patented Sam Freeman. 6 points. Beacons up 6, their largest lead of this second half.
And we talked about Suffolk when they came out in the second half. They were red hot from 3-point. It looks like they have been ice cold lately. It'll be interesting to see if they try to work it more inside of DiPrizio here.
Double teamed, kick out, Duffy for 3. He didn't hit it. That's 4 straight misses from the outside for Suffolk. Great hustle on the rebound. Gemma keeps it alive. Fresh timer for the Rams, just 2-7 on the season, but 2-2 over their last 4 games.
And a 7-point average loss differential.
DiPrizio off from 3, where he's just 1 for 5. Barnes runs at the 6'6" DiPrizio. He's fouled, and he got it! Oh, what a shot for Iser Barnes as the Beacons go up 8.
What an acrobatic lay-in by Barnes to really get that layup in, and he's coming with the foul shot.
Timeout Suffolk. And that foul stings not just because it gives the Beacons an extra free throw, but it's the 4th on DiPrizio, who's in danger of fouling out.
Well, I mean, in that situation, you got to take it to DiPrizio and really see if you can get that foul because he's their big guy and he's really their only big man.
What a take by Iser Barnes, who has scored 24 points today. Was fouled from behind, knocked it in. See if we can get a replay of that take from Iser Barnes. You see the rebound on one end, off another missed 3. Barnes pushed it forward, went right at DiPrizio. Draws the contact, not even looking at the rim, he got it to go. And you can see the Beacon bench up top going berserk.
Beacon bench and Beacon crowd, there's a lot of people here. The most I've seen in a while here at the Clark Athletic Center Gymnasium. And they were all on their feet when Iser Barnes nailed that acrobatic lay-in.
Well, after a 6-19 season, maybe taking a little while for people to buy back in, but off to a 6-3 start with that win over number 5 Cups. Beacons have some fans believing and can go to 7-3 if they can hold on here. An 8-0 run for UMass Boston has given them their largest lead of this second half and matched their largest lead of the game.
And the talk around campus, I mean, you knew that was only a matter of time for this Beacons basketball program to be good because such a good coach, Coach Harris, and obviously Sam Freeman, senior leader, and to have it this year is just amazing.
So Iser Barnes at the line has scored 24 points already today. Left the free throw short, rebound Hagopian.
And Sam Freeman starting to heat up.
Yep.
My bad.
Though he's on the bench for the time being with those 3 fouls, keeping him fresh for the stretch run. Duffy for Hagopian, a wing 3, short. Rebound Powers, tried to save it, and Barnes recovers the high hop. Long outlet, and Kirksey runs it down. Kirksey into the lane. To Folaway goes. Beacons lead by a game-high 10.
Beacons really pulling away and starting to speed up this game that they've been looking to do this whole game.
Suffolk really needs a bucket, and they get it with Grilickis.
And there's no way that the Rams are really going to have to let this game be slow anymore just because they're down 8 points.
9 points now for Grilickis, who had a couple of takes like that in the first half as well. Beacons now starting to milk the clock a bit as they hold it up in the half court. Powers for Kirksey. Count it, plus the foul. Great possession there from UMass Boston, working the ball around.
Yeah, Kirksey being so physical and so dominant down low at just 5'11".
Second foul on Gemma. Free throw coming for Careem Kirksey, who has rattled off 10 points already today. Tylee in, Alex Sanchez out for the Beacons with 4:10 to go, and UMass Boston up by 10.
And you mentioned it, Grilickis for the Rams really creating his shot and really creating offense in the first half. They might need him to start picking that up and creating offense for the Rams in the second half.
Kirksey knocks down the free throw. Beacons have their largest lead of the game at 11, only 4 minutes to go. DiPrizio back for Gemma. This is a much-needed 3, and it goes. Suffolk back within 8, ends their drought from the outside.
And one of the things that might get the Rams back in this game is the three-pointer.
Barnes drives the lane, a little contact, no whistle. Freeman batted at it, didn't grab the rebound. And here comes Suffolk with 3:20 to go, down 8. Here's Grilickis, 9 points on the day. Underhand for Hagopian, who matches DiPrizio with a Ram-high 15 points. DiPrizio for Gemma.
And at what point do you really speed up the pace if you're the Rams?
I got to try and get a good look. DiPrizio fumbles it off his foot, then off the Beacons and out of bounds. Only 6 seconds left on the shot clock for Suffolk.
Down 8, you can't just be milking the shot clock for the best shot. You got to make someone make something happen.
3:03 to go. It's a timeout on the floor. Beacons up 8. Come back for the conclusion. UMass Boston and Suffolk here on the Beacons Broadcast Network.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
I think there's more opportunities for academic scholarships in Division III.
I did receive academic scholarships. Just being involved on campus, being a leader, all those things combined kind of get me recognized. It's a great experience for me.
UMass Boston 64, Suffolk 56. This game was tied at 51. Beacons have scored 13 of the last 18 to build an 8-point lead. With Steve Witkowski, I'm Bill Spalding. Steve, what's been the key over these last few minutes as the Beacons have started to pull away?
I mean, you got to look at rebounds, and I mean, DiPrizio getting to 4 fouls, and then Iser Barnes just being the guy that he is and really being the offensive playmaker for this Beacons offense.
24 points for Iser Barnes today. Beacons led 32-31 at halftime. Fell behind by 6 early this half, but have come back with a vengeance. Hagopian off the designed play out of the timeout. Michael Hagopian has scored 17 points today.
17 quiet points, to say the least.
6-point game. Just 10 to shoot for the Beacons.
Freeman back in the game for the Beacons.
Playing with 3 fouls. With 5 to shoot, Sanchez penetrates. Tough shot, challenge, it goes! That's a back-breaking possession if you're Suffolk. Went the full 30 seconds, and the Beacons score to go up 8.
And great defense by Suffolk, but Sanchez just a great shot to get over the defender's face.
Got to be able to shoot over defenders when you're 5'5", and Sanchez shows he can. Suffolk forced to use a lot of the shot clock again. Gerlikis into the paint. And DePrizio traveled. So they used 22 seconds of the shot clock, and it doesn't even end with a shooting opportunity for the Rams down 8. Ball back to the Beacons with 2:04 to go in an 8-point game.
And DePrizio in uncharted territories where he hasn't been all game, outside the three-point shot in the corner.
Beacons will melt the clock again. They can work it down to about 1:40 to go on this possession. Powers open 3. It's good! UMass Boston up 11.
And Powers being dynamic outside the three-point shot.
11-point lead for the Beacons. Powers knocks down his second 3. He has scored 14 points today. Nearly stripped. DePrizio gets rid of it. Gerlikis into the teeth of the defense. That's an offensive foul! Sam Freeman has stepped up and took the charge. Those are the types of plays that at halftime Jason Harris was talking about when he wanted to see the focus and effort plays.
And such a huge foul, because that would have been a basket for the Rams and a free throw.
11-point lead for the Beacons. Suffolk forced to foul as Thomas Duffy reaches in. Alex Sanchez will go to the line with the Beacons in the double bonus. At this point, if UMass Boston just takes care of the basketball and hits its free throws, should win this game and go to 7-3, surpassing last year's win total in just 10 games.
Very impressive in looking at the opponents that they really played. I mean, Tufts on the road. Keene State, obviously a tough loss, but a lot of games on the road.
Sanchez knocks down the first. 7 points today for him. And that'll stay at 7. It's a 12-point game. Beacons off until January 3rd. They'll play at Regis College in their first game of 2017. Takes some time to get used to saying. And Suffolk, January 5th, they'll play against Emmanuel. Jama off from 3. Easy rebound for Sanchez. Suffolk not even looking like they'll foul here with the Beacons ahead 12.
And quickly up to 70 points for the Beacons.
Yeah, so 38 points already in this second half after only 32 in the first. Still not the number the Beacons are used to. They average 80 a game, but get the job done. Kirksey late in the shot clock sticks it in. UMass Boston up 14, their largest lead of the game.
Not the number they're used to, but they really have slowed this game down just because they're up so many points.
Take the other way and a timeout for Suffolk in a 12-point game. Jeff Duran will talk things over one more time. Upcoming schedule for the Beacons, mentioned it, they'll play Regis on January 3rd, so it's about a 20-day break for UMass Boston. Regis out of conference, Bridgewater State out of conference, and then it's the thick of Little East Conference play the rest of the way, starting with Rhode Island College on January 7th. Beacons 1-1 right now in the conference. That puts them in a tie for 3rd. UMass Dartmouth and Eastern Connecticut State are 2-0. Southern Maine and Rhode Island College are 0-2. Everybody else sitting at 1-1.
Yeah, I mean, we talked to Sam Freeman. We had him on Beacons 360 after they were 3-1, and he said, you know, I'm just trying to tell the guys that it's so much tougher play in the Little East Conference. They have a lot more height, a lot more athleticism, and it should be interesting to see how the Beacons really do in the Little East Conference.
Suffolk off until January 5th when they'll play Emmanuel College, one of their GNAC or Great Northeast Athletic Conference competitors. That game January 5th, and they'll follow that up with another conference game against Mount Ida College on January 7th. Beacons looking to break the pressure. That's deflected, and it'll stay with UMass Boston. Good hustle from Gemma taking a hand on it.
And DeBrizio not out on the floor right now in the final 30 seconds.
Barnes dribbled off a foot. Powers dives on the hardwood, but the shot clock at 20. That would have been 10-second closely guarded. Instead, they'll reset the clock on a jump ball, and the Beacons get it back. Referee's going to talk about it here because otherwise it would be Suffolk ball. When the shot clock hits 20, that's a clear sign that it's 10-second closely guarded. It's down to 19 now at this point. That's what Jeff Tirana is saying as he takes a couple steps out on the floor. Could hear him say the shot clock's down to 19. Looks like the referees are going to stay with a jump ball, which gives the possession to the Beacons. They'll reset the shot clock, which turns the shot clock off and means UMass Boston can hold the basketball here.
And not much going Suffolk Rams' ways today.
Not that in 22 seconds you were going to see a 12-point deficit overturned anyway, but just adding to the frustration for Suffolk here at the end. Remember, this game was 51-all. Beacons have scored 21 of the last 30 points to close this one out, and Ty Lee's fouled here, so a chance to pad his stats. 2 points today for Lee. Free throws coming for the freshman who won a state championship at New Mission High School from right here in the city.
A great game for the Beacons today, and a great end to the first semester, going 7-3.
First free throw's good. Assume we'll have a slightly more verbose Jason Harris here in this post-game press conference after the Beacons close out strong. Lee makes both free throws. Beacons up 14. Long three, Hagopian. That's an air ball, and that should just about do it. Barnes brings it into the front court. Can sit on the basketball if he wants to. UMass Boston had to battle for it, but they close out strong. Beacons scored 22 of the last 32 points. And UMass Boston wins 74-60 to move to 7-3 and surpass last year's win total. So the Beacons win 74-60. Post-game show is coming up. It'll start with an interview with Jason Harris. So all that and more is coming up next on the Beacons Broadcast Network.
We graduate 17,000 students every year, and the vast majority of them stay in Massachusetts. We have over 280,000 graduates in Massachusetts today. We graduate people in critical fields, engineering, STEM fields. We graduate people with research experience where they can start their own companies. It is amazing to see what UMass graduates accomplish once they leave the university. I remember vividly my own graduation from UMass. It was a beautiful day, it was perfect weather. I remember the pride that my mother and father felt. I could see it in their eyes. Here it is, 30 years later, I get an opportunity to preside over UMass commencement. It is so moving and inspiring for me to think this is what it's for. Here we are, we have these graduates that we're going to unleash on the world, ready to take on the world, happy about the accomplishment, but also hopeful about the future. It's hard not to get emotional at a UMass graduation. You see that UMass is here for the Commonwealth, here for a reason.
And we're back here at the Clark Athletic Center after the Beacons 74-60 win. Well, Coach, we talked to you at halftime, and you weren't pleased with the tempo. You weren't pleased with the rebounding. Did you see the changes you were looking for in the second half?
Well, we found a way to win. We talked about winning ugly, and doesn't matter. We won. We got some things that we got to fix. moving forward. But I'm pleased at the end of a semester we're 7-3. We found a way to just grind this one out, with exams. You guys have had a tough week. This is probably the hardest week, as a Division III athlete, dealing with all the stuff that goes on. So I'm happy that we found a way to win.
Big day for Iser Barnes today, especially in that first half. He kind of got you guys going when there wasn't a lot going on, and then carried that over to the second half. What do you think about his play?
Iser, he's a grown man. We've been calling him Mr. Barnes, and last year was Iser, this year's Mr. Barnes, and he just makes physical, tough plays for us. He had a couple mental lapses that he hasn't really had this year, but immediately he looks over, my bad, and but again, there's a lot of things that we got to fix. The goal here is to win a championship, and there's some things that crept up today that we just winning programs can't have.
Now, finally, you kind of hit on it here a bit, but you go into about a 3-week break here, 7-3 after the first semester, already more wins than last year. What's your message to your team heading into the winter break?
Do your homework, study for your finals, take care of your body.
All right, Coach, thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, that's Coach Harris after the Beacons win 74-60. For more on the win, let's take a look at the highlights of today's game. Points for Powers all came in the paint. Another 3 for DePrizio, and he knocks this one down. UMass Boston. Gemma for the Suffolk lead. Gemma on foul trouble. Powers takes a 3 and finally hits. First today, way short on the 3, and Tyreek Lee picks out another rebound, his 4th today. In transition, Kirksey through contact. Duffy turned it over. Here's Beacons, where he's just 1 for 5. Barnes runs. And he got it! Powers for Kirksey. Count it, plus the foul. 1:40 to go on this possession. Powers open 3. It's good! UMass.
My name is Allie Greenberg. I'm an ice hockey player here. I'm a junior majoring in human services, and I'm part of the Key for Hope Foundation. We recycle the keys and stock food pantries with the money. I wanted to bring this foundation to the athletic department, and I believe we can end hunger starting at UMass Boston. I got started with the Key for Hope Foundation due to my father. He's the one who founded this program.
I said, what can I do with a classroom environment giving back? And everybody's got an old key, and keys are made of brass, and brass is a recyclable commodity. And thinking about how many children are in a school system and how far we can go with taking this to do something right for humanity, I started a foundation called Key for Hope, feeding others with the collecting of keys. In 2.5 years, we collected over 500,000 keys. And I'm excited about this whole opportunity because you know what? One key may not seem like much to most people, but when you collect the masses of keys that we've collected, it shows that there is an ability for people to get together and create what I'm considering our hunger fighting opportunity.
I came from a working class family. I grew up in a hard-edged section of Lowell, Massachusetts, and I lived with my 6 siblings and my parents in a 4-bedroom house that had 1 bathroom. I knew that the only way that I was going to get to where I wanted to get to was if I got a high-quality college education, and I had the University of Massachusetts right in my hometown. It made a difference. I'm the first undergraduate alumnus to lead this university. I'm very proud of that. I think with that comes a special responsibility as a steward, as a protector. Every student that I see that walks through the door, I see myself, I was exactly where they are now. I had their same challenges, their same aspirations, their same dreams. And it makes me want to fight for them. It makes me want to make sure that they get every opportunity that I got. I was literally able to transform my life because of the University of Massachusetts, and I want that for every single student that walks through the door.
Beacons 74-60 winners over Suffolk to head into the winter break at 7-3. Suffolk falls to 2-8. Let's take a look at the game stats today in the Beacons 74-60 win. UMass Boston forced 19 Suffolk turnovers, and that was key, Steve, to letting them get out and run in the second half.
Exactly, that quickened up the game. You could really see that in the second half, and that just resulted to more points. And, just a 12-point lead at the end of the game.
The other big number, the rebounding. Beacons actually were behind in the rebounding battle at halftime, but they turned things around, out-rebounded Suffolk by 11 in the second half. by 6 overall. Once again, this is a team that is an undersized team, still figuring out a way to get it done.
Exactly, and a person to mention, Careem Kirksey, 5'11", and DePrizio at the other end,
Yep.
He's 6'6", and Sam Freeman wasn't out on the floor that much.
Yeah, well, Careem Kirksey will be on the list as we look here at our overall individual leaders. Careem Kirksey, one of 2 Beacons with 9 rebounds, along with Dan Powers. Iser Barnes, who we can now call Mr. Barnes, according to Coach Jason Harris, leading all scorers with 24 points.
Mr. Barnes it is. He just looked like a man out there, like Coach Harris said, just taking the ball to the hoop and really being very physical on defense and offense.
All right, let's look ahead for UMass Boston. Obviously, if you look at the schedule for the next couple of weeks, there's nothing because they're off until January 3rd when they'll take on Regis College. Back here at the Clark on January 5th, which is a good 3+ weeks from now, Beacons will take on Bridgewater State in a non-conference game, so they have some time, as Coach Harris said, take care of their body, get healthy again, and be fresh for the stretch run.
And not only that, academics, especially as a basketball player, you could be eligible for the first semester, but not for the second semester if you do slip up in these finals.
All right, time to thank our production crew working hard during finals week. Got to give an extra shout out to Elizabeth Glavin, Rachel Maslak, Gigi Braga, my co-commentator Steve Witkowski, and then our camera operators Roxanne Vento, Alyssa Flegel, and Alyssa Hachi, and of course our overall producer Seth Arensky, who set the table for us and was prophetic today when it came to our player to watch, Iser Barnes, who scored 24 points for the entire crew. My partner Steve Witkowski, Bill Spalding signing off after UMass Boston wins 74-60. Have a happy holidays, and if you want to be with us for one more basketball game before the holidays, tune in for Beacons women's basketball tomorrow at 5:30. Good night from the Clark Athletic Center.